hard to handicap the WNBA this season just with so many. Well, I mean, the Aces being the best team by far in the league, but then you have some teams like the Sun, the Mystics that are a little bit more top heavy, and then you have teams like the Storm and the Lynx and the Mercury that are really, really bad. So the parity in the league this year is kind of like a ton of really good teams, a ton of really, really bad teams. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, I have a WNBA power ratings that I updated every day, and I kind of follow that as my cursor for betting spreads. And then we'll kind of adjust on situations, say they're playing their third or fourth road game in a row, or they have some injuries there. But the toughest teams to rank are the Aces, who are just breaking my rankings. They're 4-0 against the spread, against spreads of 16 or more, and they face another big, meaty spread tonight against Seattle. It's like you can't rate them high enough, and they just have so much talent. Even with someone like Candace Parker, who's not going to play tonight, we're talking about Candace Parker, a Hall of Fame player, but she's like the fifth option on that team. And does her absence even move the spread, considering all the talent that they have? And they added depth this year. And then Seattle, that's who I have at the bottom of the ratings. And it's really tough, beyond Jewel Lloyd and Izzy. They don't have much else, and their defense is terrible, and their offense isn't that great when those guys aren't going. So it's I would say just getting that grasp of the top teams and the bottom teams has been the most difficult thing for me. And then there are some kind of, there's some flaky teams out there that kind of have runs. The LA Sparks have been a tough team to kind of get a grasp on because of a lot of injuries. The Minnesota Lynx, kind of up and down, another team that was really snake bitten with injuries early on, still missing Jess Shepard, their starting center, who I really like, and then had Diamond Miller miss some time. She's come back. Really love her. It has been a difficult season. Even like the Indiana Fever, they tend to play the good teams really, really tough, and then they kind of crap the bed against some smaller teams. So,
well, let's talk about the Aces. As you mentioned, they are big, 16.5-point favorites playing one of the bottom feeders, the Storm. Anything you like in this one?
So my ratings with Parker out, my ratings came out around 17. -17. The spread opened as high as -18.5. It has ticked down a little bit to 17.5. I find it hard to fade the Aces just because they don't care what the spread is, and we're flirting with one of the bigger spreads that you're going to see. I think the tallest spread this year has been 19 points. I think my biggest WNBA spread on record I think is like 20.5. At least from my recollection. So we're flirting with kind of historic territory with this team. And I think, when they come to host Seattle at some point, second half of the season, we're going to see these massive spreads come out. For me, I was looking at Chelsea Gray on her assists over 6.5. Some of the projections flirting with 8, some of them 7, waiting for a couple more numbers to come out here. But this is a player who has kind of changed her role. She was scoring a lot more. Now we see Kelsey Plum doing a lot more scoring. And then Gray, especially over the last 3 games with Parker out of the lineup, she has taken on more of a facilitator's role, averaging almost 9 assists per game in those last 3 games. So I think she's probably good for 7 today. Like I said, waiting for a couple more numbers to roll out before making a move there. And it is the late game. But if you look at the spread and you look at the total for this, Las Vegas expected to score a ton of points, and she can find pretty much anyone on the line in that lineup, and they can fill it up. So I think there's an opportunity for her to go over her assist prop of 6.5.
Congratulations, by the way, on all the success of the show, already renewed for a second season. So I can't wait to see which 3 quarterbacks sign up. How hard was it to get 3 guys to sign off on this and be like, all right, I'm going to be mic'd up for every game. Plus, we get behind the scenes family stuff that we really never get to see.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big challenge going in from day one, because at NFL Films, we've never mic'd up a player or a quarterback, for all 17 weeks. So to not only do 1, but do 3, that certainly was a daunting task to start the season. But it kind of unfolded with Peyton have a conversation with Patrick Mahomes. Once Mahomes was on board, then kind of everything fell in place. It's like, all right, we got, the guy that we want to lead this series, the guy that has won a Super Bowl previously, is trying to make his way back. What are different kind of stories we can tell that we think the viewers would be interesting? All right, how about a guy that, has had a lot of success, just hasn't gotten over that playoff hump? So that's kind of where Kirk came in. And then a very different story, someone that, is trying to prove that he still deserves to be a starting quarterback. And I think it was great that we went with that strategy from day one, just because I think as the 8 episodes play out, you get three very different stories and three very different guys in different stages of their career.
What was the buy-in like from these players? I know you said that Kirk Cousins, was really just a part of it from the beginning, but as the season went on, I mean, it was week 17. Were they getting tired of being mic'd up and having you guys in their houses, or was it just they were on board throughout the entire season for anything that you guys wanted to do?
Yeah, fortunately for us, I think they knew what they kind of signed up for from the beginning, and all three guys were in a similar place off the field, just in their family lives, that saw value in doing this show long term. We had two kids that were born during the course of this series, and then obviously Kirk has two sons himself. So in talking to these guys, a big reason that they wanted to do it was to be able to show their kids when they're older just everything they put into it to playing the position of quarterback. Because, I mean, it's one thing to tell people, or it's one thing to see your footage of mic'd up, the little, couple minute segments that are online or on shows. But it's really different when you live with someone for 6 months and tell their story over an 8-episode arc. And I think Kirk says it in the piece that, he's still playing right now. He wants to continue to play until his boys are a little bit older to really appreciate it. So I think that helped us carry their involvement throughout and really the buy-in. And I think what it came down to was really, if they ever had any cold feet or they were getting tired of it, when you get to the playoff game with Kirk, you don't get to go home with him afterwards, or big moments like that, or Patrick Mahomes be with him the day he's winning the MVP award. It's just, again, going back to things we have never been able to capture at NFL Films, and it just took this series to a whole nother level.
My first takeaway was Christian McCaffrey. Whenever I see someone ranked as high as 2 somewhere, and then I go to the sports books at BetMGM and look, and then 35-1 to be the league's rushing leader, I mean, my antenna goes up. I think there's a big discrepancy there between his rankings with Madden and the value that you could find on him. Now, he obviously does share the load with running back Elijah Mitchell, but we all know Kyle Shanahan loves to run the ball. And also, there's a lot of questions at quarterback. So if you have a lot of questions there, it's a bit safer to have someone like Christian McCaffrey be a huge part of that offense. McCaffrey, of course, was traded from the Panthers to the Niners last year, where he finished the season 8th in terms of total rushing yards with 1,139, and 12th with 8 rushing touchdowns. And, we've got Purdy coming off an elbow injury. That's a huge question mark. I'm sure he'll be ready to go, but perhaps they do want to manage him a little bit, play it safe, and be handing the ball off to McCaffrey, and McCaffrey's stats could benefit from that situation. Maybe he struggles out of the gate. Maybe there's even a change at quarterback. So I think McCaffrey is going to be kind of that steady workload running back there. McCaffrey, he was 9 touchdowns off from the Lions' Jamal Williams, who finished the season with 17 touchdowns last year. So that's quite a big difference. But I think I might be looking at 35-1. I like that number on McCaffrey to be the rushing leader.